Sunday, the 11th of November 2012. Compliments. Warning, I may word this post slightly in my favour, so there's a small chance I'll end up looking like a braggart. It isn't my intention, I assure you, but I do have a point. Stay tuned. One of the worst parts of surgery is that patients really have no idea what actually goes on in the operating theatre. I don't mean the shenanigans and hijinks, just kidding. Sort of. I mean the actual operation. The only parts of my work that the patient can see are the bandage and the scar. If those look good, that seems to be all that matters. Your surgeon could be the biggest hack in the world, but if he can close your skin nicely, he's a superhero. But heaven forbid you get a drop of blood on that bandage, because then you're clearly a butcher. So the only real thing on which a patient can judge their surgeon is his personality, his bedside manner, attentiveness, attention to detail, mannerisms, etc. These things are important, but not as important as his skills in the OR. That's not to say it isn't a wonderful compliment when a patient tells me that she was referred by another patient of mine. I took out her friend's gallbladder, so when she needed surgery, her friend told her to come see me. I even had a woman track me down several years after I took out her appendix to do her breast biopsy when she found a lump. But how do they know if I'm actually any good? One of our local magazines has their annual Best Doctors issue, in which they mail surveys to doctors and ask them who they would go and see if they needed medical care. But here's the problem with that question. I almost never see my colleagues operate. I know who's nice and who's an arrogant a-hole, but I don't know who's good. I wouldn't have a clue who to see if I needed surgery. In that regard, I'm no better off than my patients. So who the hell can you trust to judge a surgeon's skill? Anesthesiologists and the OR nurses, that's who. Think about it. All they do is watch surgeons operate, so you know damned well they know who is good and who is much more likely to remove the wrong kidney. A man came to see me last week about getting his hernia fixed. He had no primary care doctor, so I wondered how it was that he got my name and number. Did he go to the ER? Did I operate on a family member or a friend? As I was about to ask him, his wife knocked in and stepped in the room. She's one of the anesthesiologists I've worked with the past few years, and of all the surgeons at the hospital, she had him come to see me. I've gotten some nice compliments over the years. It's great when someone tells me that my suit is nice or my haircut looks good, but I think this was one of the best compliments I've ever received. Wait a minute, what was the point I was trying to make? Oh right, now I remember. Don't sprain your shoulder when you pat yourself on the back. Make sure you stretch first. Sunday, the 18th of November 2012. Experts. The internet is both the best and the worst thing to happen to medicine ever. Well, okay, penicillin was pretty important. And I guess anesthesia was also a big break rather than simply getting people drunk and hoping they didn't wake up during the procedure. It allowed us to do whatever we wanted for however long we wanted. But I digress. These days, everybody seems to think that they can Google something and instantly become a medical expert. Never mind the fact that becoming a doctor actually takes around a decade of school and training. A 5-second internet search apparently allows people to skip years of training and practice. A short while ago, I admitted a young man who had been involved in a fairly serious car accident. He had bunked his head pretty hard, that's the technical term, and had a small contusion in his brain. As per our protocol, I had repeated his CT scan several hours after he had arrived, and it confirmed that the contusion had not changed at all. I admitted him to the intensive care unit, and though he was initially very confused, he improved dramatically over the next few days. The night before I was going to discharge him home, I got a very irate phone call from his very irate mother. "How the hell can you be thinking about sending my son home?" she asked me. "You haven't even done an MRI of his brain." No, of course I hadn't, I told her. I very calmly explained to her that her son was getting much better and there wasn't any need to do any further imaging. The only reason to do a test is if you plan on potentially changing the treatment based on the result. No matter what any test showed, his treatment wouldn't change. I tried to explain calmly that not every brain injury patient needed an MRI. It was a very expensive test that wouldn't change anything. Oops. As soon as the words escaped my mouth, I regretted saying them. Her screaming grew louder. She accused me of not doing anything and not caring about how her son was doing. She then accused me of simply trying to save the hospital money. I held my own, and nearly an hour later I finally hung up the phone, absolutely satisfied that I had not convinced her one bit. Not surprisingly, her son continued to do well and I sent him home. He did not get an MRI. All I ask is that you please let me do my job. I'm not saying you can't ask questions and challenge me because I'm not perfect. I actually appreciate questions. But you have to understand that Google doesn't make you an expert. And unless you've been to medical school, I know a hell of a lot more about this than you do. I wonder if I can use Google to search how to deal with idiots with a smartphone who think they know more than they do. Wednesday, the 20th of November 2012. Time heals all wounds. I hate waiting. I simply can't stand waiting for pretty much anything. Lines in the airport, test results, advertisements on TV, everything. I can't even stand waiting for diseases to get better, and that's exactly why I chose surgery. Do you have high blood pressure? Well, your doctor can give you a pill that may work, but you won't know for several weeks. If it doesn't work, he can give you more. Or less. Or a different drug. Or another drug. Will that work? Just wait a few more weeks. On the other hand, do you have gallstones in your gallbladder? I can take that out. Colon cancer? I can cure that. Perforated stomach ulcer? I can fix it instantly. So because it's been 11 days since my last post, I figured my next update should be about waiting. Appendicitis almost never shows up during the day. I have no idea why, but it seems no one ever comes to the ER at 10 AM with appendicitis. Everyone likes to wait until the middle of the night before coming in. I can't understand how or why they do this, because I've had appendicitis, and let me tell you, it sucks. It feels like you're being stabbed in the gut with a huge, dull, rusty sword. And the longer you wait, the higher your risk of the appendix rupturing. When that happens, it becomes an entirely different disease. People with mild appendicitis usually go home within 24 hours. People with a ruptured appendicitis, however, typically are in the hospital for a week, and some even die. I only waited about 4 hours before I went to the ER, and my appendix had already nearly ruptured by then. So how the hell can someone wait a day or even longer before seeking medical attention? God damn it, people, listen to your bodies. Sorry, I digress. The ER called me a few days ago at 1 AM, of course, to tell me about a 34-year-old woman who had just flown back from week vacation on a tropical island. She had been doubled over in abdominal pain for her entire trip, but she had waited until she got home before coming to the hospital. Naturally, her CT scan showed ruptured appendicitis. Great. After explaining the situation in detail, I took her to the operating theatre where I found this. Okay, it really wasn't that, but that's what it looked like happened inside her. Her appendix had indeed ruptured and there was pus everywhere, and everything was inflamed and stuck to everything else. I cleaned up all the pus and I managed to chisel her appendix out of the intense inflammatory response, all done laparoscopically, much to my satisfaction. After a very difficult case, I went out to the waiting room to talk to her husband and his father, who were waiting anxiously to find out the results. After I told them what I found, her husband said, "Huh, that's about the same thing that happened to me, remember, Dad?" Wait, what? My mouth probably agape, I stared in disbelief as his father recounted how his son, this woman's husband, had also had ruptured appendicitis when he was a kid on a skiing holiday. He had also waited a week before seeking medical attention because he didn't want to cut the ski trip short. So even though she had been complaining of pain all week, and even though he had been through the exact same thing, they never went to the hospital. Granted, most people can't diagnose appendicitis that easily, but most of us would go to the damned hospital if we were doubled over in pain for a week like she was. Just like her husband, she spent a week in the hospital before she finally went home. I saw her in my office a few days ago, and she's doing much better. They say time heals all wounds, but that doesn't quite apply when it comes to surgery. Saturday, the 1st of December 2012. Questions. Getting a medical degree comes with certain perks. People somehow treat me a little differently when they find out I'm a doctor. There's a certain level of respect that comes with being a physician, especially a surgeon. On the other hand, there are drawbacks as well. The most common, and often annoying, is the curbside consultation. "Hey, you're a doctor. What's this rash on my back?" "Oh, you're a doctor? Hey, why does my knee hurt when it rains?" "So, you're a doctor. Well, you see, I have this, friend, and he no, it isn't me, I swear. Anyway, this friend of mine has had a problem with, do you think you could get him some Viagra?" Get the idea? Most of the questions I get are completely unrelated to my field of expertise, which mostly has to do with either holes or sick organs inside the abdomen. Some, however, are relevant, and one I got recently from a reader named Miss A, not her real name, is particularly germane. "Hey Doc, I've been reading your FML post for a while and graduated to your blog a few nights ago, which, by the way, is great reading material when your brain refuses to turn off and allow sleep. And I've noticed you have a few posts about drug seeking. My questions are, when is it okay to ask for medication? When is it okay to ask for stronger medication? And how do you approach the topic with your doctor? Thanks for your time and opinions, Miss A. Asking for medication is always tricky, as some of my patients have found out. The problem with pain is that it's 100% subjective. There is no test I can run on you that proves you're in agony. There are warnings that most people emit unconsciously that we can easily detect that tell us that you're in bull mode. So having said that, here are some answers that may help. When is it okay to ask for medication? It's always okay to ask for pain medicine. That doesn't mean you'll get any, but if you're in pain, let someone know. When is it okay to ask for stronger medicine? This is where you start to get into that grey zone. There are some lines that we hear over and over, and all of them raise huge red flags. I can only take this medication, it's the only one that works for me. If you start off by demanding a certain narcotic, especially one that has a side effect of euphoria, chances are very good that you will not get it from me. Morphine, Demerol, codeine, hydromorphone, Fenetril, fentanyl, and heroin all work the exact same way by binding to the exact same receptor. Their chemistries are all a little different, so they work to varying degrees, but if one of them works, chances are another one will work too. But I'm allergic to all of the over-the-counter medicines. Sure you are. I can say with 99.99% certainty that isn't true, because the chance of actually having an allergy to paracetamol or Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen and naproxen is very near zero. And the people who are supposedly allergic to them usually aren't quite sure what the allergy is. They all make me sick. Sorry, but nausea isn't an allergy. None of the over-the-counter medicines work for me. This is probably one of the biggest red flags. Of course they don't work. You've been abusing narcotics for so long, the only thing that will work is more narcotics. It all just hurts. I need pain medicine. If you have no identifiable reason for having excruciating pain all over your body, we can rest assured that you aren't having excruciating pain all over your body. Yes, there are very rare disorders where very unfortunate patients have pain for no detectable reason. Fortunately for us, and unfortunately for you, these disorders are exceedingly rare. How do you approach the topic with your doctor? Be open, honest and frank. Don't be whiny, demanding or aggressive. Let your doctor handle the details and don't try to guide him in one direction. Understand that there are more and more non-narcotic analgesics available now than ever before, and if your doctor prescribes one for you, don't complain that it isn't Vicodin. Trust me when I tell you that you do not want to take narcotics for your chronic low back pain or your severe menstrual cramps. Once you start, it can be very difficult to stop. If you've ever seen a narcotic withdrawal scene in a movie, they are usually startlingly accurate. I hope this helps not only the people with real pain who are seeking answers, but also the idiots who still think they're smart enough to con narcotics from me. Wait a second, is Miss A telling me that this blog puts her to sleep? I suppose she can stop asking her doctor for sleeping pills now. Friday, the 7th of December 2012. Driving hazards. There are a few things that scare the crap out of me when I see them on the road. People who can't see over the dashboard, people talking on their cell phones, people texting while driving, people reading the newspaper while driving, a student driver sign, and a driver pretending to be Mario Andretti. I always try to get as far away from these people as possible, because you simply can't devote enough attention to your surroundings when you're too busy fixing your makeup while texting your bestie that, "Oh my god, this song sucks." There are some very impressive recent studies that have shown that driving while distracted is just as dangerous as driving while intoxicated. If you text while driving, you are 23 times more likely to crash. Almost 20% of all crashes which are severe enough to cause injuries are caused by distracted drivers. At highway speeds, in the length of time it takes to read or write a text message, you travel over 100 meters. That's the length of a football field, all while not looking at the road. Just one of these distractions is enough to make your 2,000 kilogram missile loaded with explosive fuel dangerous enough. Add more than one of them together and you get what happened to Miss M, not her real name. A reader from Australia who wrote me an email about her experience in a car crash. It's enough to make your head spin. Hi doc, my name is Miss M, still not her real name. I'm 26 and I'm a nurse from this place Australia, and I read your blog constantly. Can I say, being a nurse, we need a lot more doctors like you around. I thought I'd share my story with you. This happened to me last year. In Australia, when you've completed 120 hours of driving under the supervision of a full license holder, you become eligible to drive without supervision, but with a speed limit restrictions of 90 km per hour, or 55 miles per hour for our American friends. I was stopped to turn right when I heard a screeching noise. I looked in my rearview mirror but didn't see anything. Next thing I know, bam! I was hit from behind with such force that I was pushed into oncoming traffic where I was hit by another car. All 3 cars were destroyed, but no one was killed. I found out later that the driver who caused the accident was a 17-year-old boy who was doing 110 km per hour in a 50 km per hour zone while texting. And to add insult to injury, not once did he even say sorry to me or the other driver for what he did. Teenagers these days think that they are invincible and that texting and driving is okay. But as you can see from these pictures, it's not. He could have killed someone else, if not himself. He is now paying over $63,000 in fines and damages. He has lost his license for 3 years. He got charged with negligent driving, colliding with a stationary vehicle, and speeding. The message needs to get out to young ones that it's not worth texting and driving. Keep up the fantastic work, Doc. Miss M. Over 200 billion text messages are sent each month, and I guarantee that 99.999% of them can wait until you've arrived at your destination to be sent. If you're driving and you really have to tell someone something, either pull over and send your message or put down the goddamn phone and just wait until later.